In the mid-1980s, if you wanted the fastest, lightest production motorcycle money could buy, the answer was almost certainly coming out of Japan. The GSX-R750 arrived in 1985 40 pounds lighter than everything in its class and won Japan's premier production racing championship within 12 months. Kevin Schwantz put one on the Daytona podium the year after. The same chassis lapped the Isle of Man within 2 miles per hour of a factory Grand Prix machine. But the reputation those bikes carry today is something else entirely. Dangerous, uncontrollable, a race bike with lights, not a very good street bike. There is a comfortable version of where that reputation came from. The press rode these machines and wrote what they found. That version is wrong, and the proof was sitting inside the same magazines the whole time. In 1992, the arrival of the Honda CBR900RR FireBlade changed the conversation, offering a correction to the decade-old narrative of compromise and terror. For years, superbikes were built on a simple, brutal equation: massive engines stuffed into heavy, flexing frames. If a bike was fast, it was assumed it had to be intimidating. Honda dismantled this assumption. They bypassed the traditional heavyweight 750 cubic centimeter platform entirely, opting instead for a compact, liquid-cooled 893 cubic centimeter inline-4. The engineering was led by Etsuo Yokuchi, who brought a radical philosophy forged during his time developing Suzuki's first aluminum frames. Yokuchi asserted that performance was not a product of raw horsepower alone, but of a lightweight, aerodynamically refined chassis. Under his guidance, Honda focused on compactness and accessibility as primary engineering goals rather than afterthought compromises. They engineered an engine with an 11:1 compression ratio, putting out 122 horsepower and 65 pound-feet of torque at 10,000 revolutions per minute, but kept the physical package incredibly small. The resulting machine weighed a mere 185 kilograms dry, or 408 pounds. To put that in perspective, contemporary rivals like the Yamaha YZF-1000R, Kawasaki ZX-10R, and Suzuki's own GSX-R1100 all scaled well past the 200 kilogram mark when wet. Rather than being slightly lighter, the FireBlade occupied an entirely different weight class, matching the physical footprint of a 600 cubic centimeter machine with the power output of a liter bike. By prioritizing a stiff, ultra-rigid aluminum twin spar frame and aggressive geometry, Honda transformed what riders could expect from high-performance machinery. The older fear narrative, the idea that a fast motorcycle had to be an unruly beast barely suitable for public roads, suddenly looked incomplete. The FireBlade proved that devastating speed could be packaged with predictable handling, light steering, and genuine real-world usability. It was a machine that redefined the meaning of the word superbike, proving that the ultimate expression of performance lay not in the pursuit of raw, uncontrollable power, but in the systematic elimination of mass. In 1984, Kawasaki chose a different path to dominance, focusing squarely on raw velocity. The GPZ900R arrived with a 908 cubic centimeter liquid-cooled inline-4 engine, establishing the very first Ninja identity. Kawasaki's launch materials boasted of high-speed ambition, claiming a top speed over 150 miles per hour. This was backed up by 114 horsepower and 64 pound-feet of torque. While competitors later chased extreme lightweight aluminum, Kawasaki opted for a heavy, rigid steel diamond frame. This steel chassis pushed the dry weight to 516 pounds and a fully fueled wet weight to 549 pounds. It was a heavy machine, serving as an unyielding platform designed to withstand massive aerodynamic forces at triple-digit speeds. 4 years later, the ZX-10 arrived to continue this exact speed-first philosophy. Rather than rewriting their engineering playbook, Kawasaki refined the formula, increasing power output while keeping the long-legged, stable chassis characteristics. The street reputation of these heavy Kawasaki's painted them as unruly, straight-line missiles, terrifying to ride on anything but a drag strip. However, owner experience reveals a completely different reality. On public roads, the weight and long wheelbase of both the GPZ900R and the ZX-10 transformed them into remarkably stable tourers. Instead of fighting the rider, the planted chassis absorbs road imperfections and resists crosswinds, making them comfortable for high-speed, long-distance journeys. This stability did not mean these machines were without fault. and long-term ownership exposes distinct mechanical quirks. In cold, damp weather, early GPZ900R carburetors are prone to icing. The rear shock oil seals frequently wear out prematurely, leading to a bouncy, under-damped ride if neglected. Owners who push these engines toward their high redlines must also watch for valve spring fatigue, which typically surfaces around 60,000 kilometers. These service realities, rather than any mythical handling flaws, define the true ownership experience of Kawasaki's original Speed Kings. They were built for high-speed composure, showing that the pursuit of velocity did not have to result in a hostile road machine. Suzuki approached the speed war with a completely different weapon, executing a design strategy that prioritized weight reduction above all else. Under project leader Etsuo Yokuchi, the company adopted a defining creed: light is right. In 1985, the GSX-R750 debuted with an official dry weight of just 176 kilograms, or 388 pounds. This made it roughly 80 to 100 pounds lighter than its closest Japanese competitors, matching the physical footprint of a middleweight machine while delivering 100 horsepower at 10,500 revolutions per minute. This power-to-weight ratio immediately reshaped the boundaries of street performance. To achieve this, Suzuki engineered an unconventional technical package. They swapped heavy steel for a 9.5 kilogram aluminum double cradle frame and abandoned traditional liquid cooling, opting instead for the Suzuki Advanced Cooling System. This setup used a high-flow double-chamber pump to spray high-pressure engine oil directly onto the combustion chambers, keeping operating temperatures stable under grueling conditions. Fed by flat-slide downdraft carburetors, this oil-cooled power plant was a direct descendant of Suzuki's World Championship endurance racers. The formula was so successful that Suzuki quickly scaled it up, dropping a 1,100 cubic centimeter version of the oil-cooled engine into a reinforced aluminum chassis to create the GSX-R1100. Yet, owning these legendary machines today requires a level of mechanical discipline that strips away any romanticized nostalgia. Modern owner registries, compiled of digitized service logs and dyno checks, reveal that the GSX-R's racetrack DNA demands rigorous, high-frequency maintenance. The valve train relies on exceptionally tight clearances, ranging strictly between 0.09 and 0.13 millimeters. This requires owners to perform precise adjustments every 4,000 kilometers to prevent catastrophic cam wear and power loss. The high-pressure SACS system is also notorious for oil cooler line and seal leaks, which can spray hot oil directly onto the rear tire if neglected. Early aluminum frames, while revolutionary, require regular structural inspections for stress cracking around weld points and engine mounting brackets, particularly where components have been over-torqued during hasty garage servicing. The historical record preserved in the service logs of dedicated restorers shows that the Suzuki legend was absolutely earned on the track. Keeping it alive on the street requires a constant commitment to precision. Yamaha chose to fight the performance war in the engineering office rather than the weight loss clinic. In 1985, they introduced the FZ750, carrying a complex engine package known as the Genesis design. At its heart was a cylinder head utilizing 5 valves per cylinder, 3 intake and 2 exhaust. To feed this breathing apparatus, engineers tilted the cylinder bank forward, allowing straight, downdraft paths for the carburetors. This layout kept the center of gravity low and crammed more air and fuel into the combustion chambers. While rivals chased high revolutions per minute horsepower numbers that only existed at the very top of the rev range, Yamaha's 20-valve configuration delivered a remarkably broad, linear torque curve that made the FZ750 exceptionally flexible on real-world roads. This engine philosophy soon found a more mature, road-focused counterpart in the FJ1200. Where the FZ750 was a sharp street fighter, the larger, heavier FJ was built to consume highway miles with absolute composure, offering a massive wave of mid-range torque that required fewer gear changes. Yet, translating these sophisticated engine designs to the tarmac revealed the physical limits of mid-1980s chassis hardware. The FZ750 relied on relatively small 270mm front brake discs squeezed by twin-piston calipers. Hauling its 531-pound wet weight down from high speed caused rapid pad wear and noticeable brake fade, exposing the gap between engine capability and stopping power. The chassis was further constrained by the AS-ply tires of the era. While the engine wanted to charge ahead, the period cross-ply rubber lacked the lateral stiffness of later radials, causing the bike to feel heavy and slow to steer through tight bends. This split period press reviews between absolute admiration for the engine's tractability and skepticism about its handling when pushed to the limit. Today, classic owners find that the intricate 20-valve head requires careful oversight. Over long-term use, the tight clearances and high valve count make the assembly prone to valve spring fatigue, demanding precise maintenance to prevent engine damage. Yamaha's engineering made sense on paper, but on the street, it was ultimately bound by the mechanical limits of its time. On April 3, 1988, at Donington Park, the status quo of multi-cylinder superbikes shattered. Marco Lucanelli piloted the water-cooled, 4-valve Ducati 851 to victory in the second race of the inaugural World Superbike Championship. This was a factory prototype with headlight cutouts, proving its racing credentials on day one. Raymond Roche followed with a world title in 1990, and Doug Poland dominated the 1991 and 1992 seasons on the 888 F91, winning 23 out of 26 races. At the heart of this dominance lay Ducati's defining mechanical identity, desmodromic valve actuation. By replacing conventional valve springs with positive cam-driven opening and closing lobes, Ducati eliminated valve float entirely. This allowed the high-revving V-twin to extract maximum power past 12,000 revolutions per minute. With a dry weight of 416 pounds, the early 851 was an ultra-focused performance machine. Yet bringing this racetrack pedigree to public roads transformed the legendary Italian romance into a demanding mechanical contract. The very desmodromic system that secured world championships requires strict, high-precision maintenance. Instead of simple adjustments, the Desmo head relies on a dual shim setup for every single valve, effectively doubling the adjustment points, shims, and belts. Owners must execute precise checks every 6,000 kilometers on the 851, or risk rapid power loss and severe valve seat damage. The early production runs also introduced distinct engineering vulnerabilities that stripped away any romantic illusions. Early 851 units suffered from fragile CDY ignition systems sensitive to voltage spikes, while water pump seal leaks routinely corroded the cast iron housings. More critical still is the tendency for premature oil pump wear. As internal clearances degrade, oil pressure drops, causing downstream fuel pumps to lock up and stall the engine entirely. Today, this means the collector market for the 851 and 888 family is fiercely divided. For these machines, romance without records is a liability. While Japanese contemporaries of the era can often survive decades of garage neglect, a classic Ducati's desirability is dictated entirely by its paper trail. Desmo valve logs, oil pump replacement receipts, and factory provenance files are the true currency here. Without documented upkeep, a legendary Italian superbike is merely an expensive project waiting to happen. BMW rejected the race replica formula entirely, offering an alternative rooted in high-speed stability and aerodynamic efficiency rather than featherweight aggression. While Japanese engineers stripped mass to chase lap times, the German manufacturer introduced the K100 in 1983, followed by the aerodynamically extreme K1 in 1988. This K-series lineup offered a completely different performance path. At the core of this strategy was a liquid-cooled 987 cubic centimeter inline-4 laid flat on its side along the chassis. This layout lowered the center of gravity while keeping the frontal profile remarkably narrow. On the K1, BMW enclosed this package in massive 7-piece fiberglass bodywork. Tested extensively in the wind tunnel, the fairings achieved a drag coefficient of 0.38, turning the heavy machine into a high-speed touring missile designed specifically for the unrestricted stretches of the Autobahn. Yet, this heavy, long wheelbase philosophy brought clear engineering compromises that owner diaries lay bare. The K1's high-speed composure was constrained by its narrow 16-inch front wheel. This period wheel setup made low-speed steering feel heavy and slow, requiring deliberate physical effort to turn in compared to its agile contemporaries. On the street, modern owners examining long-term workshop binders find that German engineering is not immune to time. The aluminum fuel tanks suffer from low-spot condensation where water pools under the fuel. This moisture slowly corrodes the metal, causing the internal rubber fuel pump mounts to dissolve into a black sludge that clogs the fuel injection system and starves the engine. Down below, the rear swing arm pivot is vulnerable to water and road grit intrusion, leading to rapid corrosion of the driveshaft splines if the factory recommended grease intervals are ignored. Today, the K1's desirability does not stem from raw, blistering racetrack speed. Instead, collectors prize these machines for their bold design identity, high-speed composure, and relative rarity. They represent a brief, fascinating era when performance was defined by how cleanly a heavy motorcycle could slice through the atmosphere rather than how much weight a factory could strip away. Today, these machines are no longer measured by lap times, but by the raw, analog soul they refuse to surrender. As modern sport bikes evolve into whispering computers, the uncompromising character of the 80s reminds us of what we've lost. The legend survives because these bikes demanded everything from the rider. Which 80s icon would you risk riding today? Let us know in the comments.